Previously on Crime Adjacent. Okay, so where were we? On Saturday night, December 16, 2023, Ridgewood City Councilwoman B. Macy was abducted from the parking lot of her gym on Cherry Street. Ridgewood police officer Ralph Disney was tasked with guarding her because, well, something incredibly strange was happening in this small Bay Area town in the winter of 2023. Just that Monday, just a few days prior, City Councilman Gary Pugh had also been abducted. His body was discovered hours later in the valley with all the telltale signs that the rest stop killer had returned. Then, just the day before, on Friday, City Councilwoman Margie Miller was also abducted. She was also stomped, but not so bad, if that's a thing. She survived the attack, but remained in the hospital on life support. So that's why City Councilwoman B. Macy was under guard. Someone was clearly killing off council members, or trying to at least. Although no official criminal complaints were ever filed against anyone, Police Chief Al Williams and the entire City Council agreed they needed to tell the story of what happened in Ridgewood that week. No matter how bad for the police, no matter how bad for the Palmers or the city or anyone. Winnie had already been able to obtain secret reports, but only part of the story had been told. The city council knew that conspiracy theorists and true crime podcasters would pick this case apart for decades to come, trying to piece together why city council members were being targeted and who did it and why the police department couldn't prevent it. But most importantly, everyone wanted to know, how could Ridgewood let the most prolific serial killer in American history slip under the radar for so long? And so the city paid a San Francisco law firm, Wilson, Weiss, and Myers, to create a detailed public report about the police department actions that week. No one trusted police, or even county prosecutors at the moment. Residents demanded an unbiased third-party investigation. Because again, no charges were ever filed against anyone. There was no charging paper spelling out the whole story for jurors. So the law firm was tapped for the report to spill everything. They were given access to everything. They were told to spare no one, to release everything they could. And so they did. The city council released the report on July 27th, 2025. It was not pretty. Here's the story. But first, heads up, true crime friends. I'm doing weekly live videos for Patreon members, letting members behind the scenes into how this show was created, and I'd love to see you there, especially if you have an interest in the convergence of true crime, pop culture, and sociology and profiling, my jams. Take a look at patreon.com/crimeadjacent for more. I hope to see you there. And hey, be sure to leave a review on your favorite listening app and then drop me a line. I love to share these on Instagram. Let me know what you like about the show and why others should listen. Thanks. From San Francisco, this is Crime Adjacent, the never-ending true crime story told weekly. I'm Chase Patrick. Before I get back to B. Macy, and what happened to her, and how her abduction led to the arrest of the rest stop killer that very night, I need to get back to Michelle Diaz, the hairstylist who went missing the week before and whose body was discovered at Lake Berryessa that Friday. The lawyers at Wilson, Weiss, and Myers, all former prosecutors lured to the big firm as defense litigators for Silicon Valley's heavyweights, absolutely hammered police for delays in filing a missing persons complaint for Michelle Diaz the previous week. It turns out, according to the report, that police actually did have a policy to immediately file reports if family members declared an emergency. It's a myth in policing that people have to wait to file reports, especially in California. There should have been no waiting period at all. Not 24 hours, not 48 hours, not 72, nothing. The report pinpointed the problem. It wasn't the police policies. It was the dispatchers. 3 different ones. They simply didn't take the complaints from the Diaz family seriously. 3 different dispatchers simply made up 3 different policies of their own on the spot. I've seen this in case after case. Dispatchers who have this us versus them mentality, like they can't be bothered by the people they're supposed to serve. Back in season 3, you might remember the case of a dispatcher in Oakland who openly called her community members savages on social media, and then, hey, surprise, surprise, didn't take community calls seriously, hung up on them, which only delayed the arrest of Father O'Reilly and led to the molestation and death of more boys. Basically, the same thing happened here in Ridgewood. In the aftermath of the Michelle Diaz debacle, 1 dispatcher was fired. 1 has been put on administrative leave, and 1 left for another department rather than be fired. Just moved from one community to another as if nothing happened. The town of nearby Fairview got wind of the official Ridgewood report and put that dispatcher on administrative leave as well. But as of 2025, all 3 are back working in other departments. I talked to Sophie Diaz about this. She was incandescent. She said Michelle might still be here if they... And Adalberto, he might still... Her words trailed off. I'll tell you what happened to Adalberto Diaz soon enough. He's also in the report. He factors into how this case ends. But I just wanted to include that information about Michelle and what happened to her because I never want her story to be forgotten, as the city council members and the rest stop killer still grab all the attention from true crime enthusiasts. So there you go. Now back to Saturday night and how B. Macy was abducted under the very eye of law enforcement, specifically Officer Ralph Disney.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Like I said, the lawyers making the report had access to everything, and they were able to match Disney's phone records to the timeline of B. Macy's last moments when he was supposed to be guarding her. When she was in the gym, he was on his phone. When she was on the way out to the parking lot, to her car in the spot where she was off camera just long enough to be assaulted and abducted, Officer Disney was on his phone again. What was so important that he couldn't keep his eyes on B. Macy, literally his only job as her guard that weekend? I know what you're thinking. Honestly, I was thinking the same thing. eBay or some other auction site for old-timey Disneyana, his passion. But no. His Google searches and website pings show he was feverishly searching for information about how to guard VIPs. He Googled military contractor sites, the Secret Service, academic reports, private security and investigative services sites. While B. Macy was in the gym, Officer Disney was outside reading a story about whether to maintain physical contact with subjects or to back off just enough to give them space and still keep an eye on them. He confessed to the lawyers, "I'd never done this before. I was nervous, and the city councilwoman was always good to me. I wanted her to be safe." The lawyers asked him what he saw that night. His response? Nothing. Not a thing. I was with the city councilwoman 1 minute, leading her to her car, and then the next, I was on the ground, waking up. My head hurt. I had been hit. Hard. The lawyers asked him, "What did you see when you woke up?" According to the transcript made public, Disney said, Len Macy. He was also knocked out. He was out cold. Councilwoman Macy was gone, and it was just Len and me. Anything else? Disney said, yes. Her car was there, my cruiser, Len's tow truck, and Her phone, her watch, they were on the ground. I presume the killer had removed them before forcing the councilwoman into his car. And, Disney said, the flag pin. It was an American flag pin, like a lapel pin. It was bloody, and... Yes? Is there more? Officer Disney nodded. I've only seen a flag pin like that on one person around town. He didn't even need to say it. Everyone knew, even the lawyers visiting from out of town. Daniel Palmer. He wore them every day, on every suit. He was known to have collections of them in his office. He displayed them and showed them off. Throughout this season, I've drawn mostly on the reporting of Winnie Freeman from the Ridgewood Recorder, beginning with her initial stories way back in 1995 with the first victim, Tommy Coulee. I'm indebted to her bulldog reporting on this case and her steadfast attention to the victims and their families, and the notion that these crimes have never impacted just one person, but have followed survivors for years, haunted them, just like they have haunted the town of Ridgewood itself. But for these next parts, I'm relying on the report. It provides so much insight and detail into that night, Saturday night, the night B was taken, and how so many seemingly disconnected events coalesced into the eventual capture of the real killer. It's a stunning document, really, like something federal prosecutors have written for impeachments or special counsel reports. It highlights 3 separate events happening at the exact same time that night. 1, B. Macy was taken. The killer sneaked up behind Officer Ralph Disney and hit him on the back of the head. When Len Macy saw a commotion, he lunged from his nearby tow truck and tried to intervene, but the killer somehow slipped behind a car in the darkness and then wheeled behind Len Macy and knocked him out too. Remember, Len Macy is pushing 80 at this point. So while he was large and imposing and carried a lug wrench, which was found at the scene, he wasn't as spry as he used to be. The killer got the drop on him without him getting a clear glimpse of who it was. The killer then struck City Councilwoman B. Macy with something hard. It was never determined what it was, but a laceration consistent with a blunt object, like maybe a baseball bat, was apparent on her face. She was knocked out cold and then simply placed into a car and whisked away. This all happened within minutes. B. Macy walked out of the surveillance camera coverage at 8:58 p.m., and Disney woke up and radioed for help at precisely 9:03 p.m., a 5-minute window. That's a long time. This leads to the second thing. Remember, at this time, both Winnie and I were in the police chief's office, getting the third degree about not releasing information about the buttons, which the killer had taken as souvenirs from each victim. When Disney's radio message came in, the entire police force rushed to the gym parking lot. The chief, Detective Jones, Officer Samantha Reynolds, everyone, all of them. Officers were called in for overtime and back from vacations. This was a full-fledged emergency. They converged on the Cherry Street gym. Another city council member had been abducted right from under their noses, and they would try their damnedest to rescue her before she wound up like Gary or Margie. Winnie wanted to charge after them. She wanted to get to the scene and take photos and file her story and capture this guy just as badly as the police. But I stopped her. Man, she was pissed. But I told her exactly what I was thinking, and she eventually agreed. Maybe we could get the drop on the killer, not by going to where he was, but where he would be. Here's what I told her. It all started with that stupid cartoon tourist map that was drawing my attention in Chief Williams' office. Remember that? All those tourist spots highlighted for people to visit? I was looking at that map when the call came in about B, and the thought suddenly struck me. Victims of the rest stop killer had been dumped in the valley, right? Who owned that land? But then Margie was dumped somewhere else. In the valley still, yes, but right outside someone's home. Whose? That's right. And now B. She was missing. The cops were rushing to the gym, but the killer would be long gone. Still, The killer had to dump a body somewhere, right? It wouldn't be at the gym, not where all the cops were rushing, no way. Each victim, dating back to the 1990s, was always taken from one place and dumped in another. But where? In the chief's office, I pressed a finger to the map, right in the heart of downtown, right to where the headquarters of the Palmer Development Company loomed like a smoke glass stucco monstrosity over the entire town. There, I said, the killer would dump her there. How did I know? I didn't. It was just a hunch. But I knew for certain the killer would no longer be at the gym, so why bother? I mean, I get it. Winnie wanted a report from the scene. She needed to get there, to interview people, to find out what happened. By then, the place was already crawling with news crews. But my motivation was different. I wanted to catch this guy, red-handed. And I just had one of those hunches that he was either going to the valley again, or to the Palmer house, or here, to downtown, to yet another plot of land in Ridgewood, owned by none other than, you guessed it, Daniel Palmer. Winnie thought it over for a minute and agreed. She shrugged. Worth a shot. Do you think maybe we can actually save her? So that was the second thing, where we went. To the Palmer Development headquarters downtown, just a few blocks away, to where we thought the killer might be. The third thing happened at this exact same moment, and it was thoroughly detailed in the report as well, and also in a criminal complaint. Because unlike the rest stop killer murders, in which there was no suspect to officially charge, you'll find out why, there was someone to charge for what happened next. Because there was, indeed, a killer out there. But he wasn't headed to the valley, or the lake, or the gleaming headquarters building downtown. No, he was headed to the Palmer house at this exact same time. In fact, as we were sitting in Chief Williams' office and as B. Macy was being abducted at her gym, he was already there. The felony complaint said a man hid in the bushes outside of the Palmer house, a baseball bat in hand, the weight of it slapping against his palms, a firm collision of meat and wood. Between 8:45 p.m. and 9:10 p.m., the man simply stood there, watching, waiting, slapping the bat against his palms, he said. The Palmer house was dark. No more warm lights and inviting glow. No more drinks and important meetings with billionaire Cheryl Montrose. But also, no more security goons, or police, or really any activity at all. The house looked practically vacant. Then, at 9:10 p.m., the man thought the coast was clear. He moved for the first time, inching slowly out of the darkness. It was time. The criminal charges alleged the man climbed a small parapet and crept towards an unlocked garage door, where he entered the house, baseball bat in hand, eyes fixed on a darkened hallway in a row of bedroom doors. Lights shined from underneath two of the doors, one at the end of the hall, he presumed the master bedroom, and then one just to the man's right. That had to be it, the man thought to himself. Later, in an interview at the police station, the man admitted everything. Yes, he was caught red-handed there at the crime scene, but in his interview, he spoke openly about it, proudly. The man told Detective Jones that as he stood in the darkened hallway, bat in hand, he was pretty sure he knew exactly which door belonged to Michael Palmer, and he was there to bash his head in. Because just like Marianne Bachmeier so many years ago in Germany, Adalberto Diaz said he had one urgent thought beating relentlessly through his mind as he squeezed the bat with one hand and reached for the door handle with the other. Vengeance. Next time on Crime Adjacent. Winnie and I arrived at the Palmer headquarters downtown long before the cops, and we cruised the perimeter of the parking lot in Winnie's car. The headquarters building sat on a hill overlooking the city and Interstate 80 below. The parking lot was empty. No cars at all, just the eerie yellow streetlights casting a creepy glow over the vast expanse of asphalt and the deafening roar of the freeway reaching us from below. And all those flags. Daniel Palmer had a thing for them, that was for sure. The front walkway to the headquarters was lined with rows and rows of flags, all illuminated from below in the same creepy yellow haze. At first, I thought they were state flags or country flags like the UN or something. But it turns out they're all city flags from all the cities the Palmer Development Company built homes. The man was quite the collector, and I had to admit, it was brilliant in a macabre sort of way. Daniel Palmer could never display the actual tokens he took from victims, but I wondered if, instead, these flags took their place in public, like all the cities he collected victims. It was just a hunch, and it turned out it was wrong, dead wrong. If you enjoy these stories and want immediate access to behind-the-scenes content, or just want to stop in to say hello and have a nice live chat every week, sign up for free updates and bonus information at patreon.com/crimeadjacent. Until next time, this is Chase Patrick from San Francisco with a reminder. Stay tuned. You'll never unhear what happens next.